Transmission, October 16th, 2024, 14:35 hours. Is anybody out there? This is the Blue Iron Lion, broadcasting from somewhere. Currently, I find myself on the road scouring to make a living, just like most of us out there already. I have no pressing issues I need to share. I'm just sharing anything I find along the way. And this style of recording may be of interest to some of you, and to most, maybe not. Yeah, I suppose I will just be talking about everyday life, and perhaps those of us that are out there can relate on some of them. So, 2024, what a year. Well, actually, let me go back a few years. Pre-pandemic. I had a career, a family, but the inflation, along with the differing of opinions of how value should be stored with my then spouse, has led me to take desperate measures and try to find a better way to earn. And so I took up a skill of trading, actually, and it worked like a charm. But then the pandemic, along with my own ego, has caused a downward spiral to which I find myself still recovering. So if I could paint this picture metaphorically, it would be that of a man trapped on some type of plantation, and then he builds a rocket ship to escape such plantation. And it takes off on a course set to the pre-planned coordinates that I had well thought out. But somewhere along the line, there's an engine failure to this rocket ship, and I found myself having to crash land into this current reality. And I've been trying to survive ever since. But of course, I don't give up hope. There's no real complaining. I'm just constantly scavenging for parts, if I could put it that way. This is a setback, right? Like, the alternative to that would be forever lost in space like the Robinson family. I wonder if any of you out there that's listening can relate. You know, having your mind set on a passion to take you to greater heights in this current reality, or rather from this current reality, only to have your business fail or your dreams set aside once again. Oh, well. And as I was doing this recording, I had to cut it, as I happened upon a black SUV on the side of the highway exit, with a man standing on the side of the road in front of it. And so, like, he's waving me down. And so I slowed down, and as I looked at the SUV, I see what looks like a child sitting in the front. So I pull over to the side. The man is dressed in a suit. He has all this jewelry. He has a pinky ring like the mob or mob boss would wear. And he explains to me that he's from Arabia and that he's ran out of gas. Could I please help him? His English, he says, is not very good. So I relay to him, well, how can I help you? He takes his pinky ring off, puts it in my hand as an offering, that if I can help him, that he would pay me back tomorrow, and that he's a man of his word. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what do you need help with? You need me to get you some gas? I'm thinking he needs help, and he's giving me the pinky ring as a gesture. And he keeps repeating that he's a very rich man. He proceeds, if I would just help him out with some money, and I'm like, dude, I don't have any money. I'm currently in a situation trying to scavenge for myself. At least not the money he was talking about. Anyway, he wanted me to go to an ATM and give him hundreds. And I would have his word that he would send back thousands in return. And then automatically I said, okay, to myself. I was like, this is the most creative scam that I've ever come across in my existence. It's like the women that I see around the fuel pumps whenever I need to refuel, asking everyone, including me, for help with gas money. And there's always some elaborate story behind it. And the women are always easy on the eyes, right? And the men, like this guy, look like a shorter Arabian Mario dressed in a decent suit. It's all coordinated and all non-threatening. It's like, even now I'm thinking about another day prior to that where I was walking into a shop and a man was sitting on the side of the door, and he asked in such a most soft and pleading way if I can help him with some money. And for me to see a man having to ask in this way, I felt compelled. And so I proceeded to give him the little bit that I had. And then the following few days from there, I saw a woman do the exact same thing, looking disheveled, begging, And see, I'm from the planet of New York City. It's its own planet. And see, things such as these are very prominent, right? You're used to seeing it there. But I've never seen it at this level, in the outskirts of where I currently am to where I'm seeing it now. And I'm seeing it more and more. And the guys, a lot of them that are doing it, look like they just graduated out of high school. What is going on here? I mean, is anybody out there noticing this growing phenomenon, or is it just that I'm getting older? Back when I was in school in the mid-'80s, I read somewhere in some school book that eventually there would be no middle class. It'll only be the rich and the poor. And I thought to myself, geez, the year 2090 sounds like it's not going to be so nice. But then here we are, rapidly heading there. And then speaking of the 80s, I have such fond memories of that time. Most likely because I was a child growing up and was not fully experiencing the challenges of growing up in that time if you weren't rich. Yeah, I still love the 80s. I am a retrophile of all the good stuff from that era that I remember from my childhood. But it was also the era of mainstream. It is not like now where you have the information era. I want you to think of every cheesy mainstream thing that you've ever heard. It's not important whether you win or lose. It's how you play the game. Or don't focus on money. It's what's on the inside that counts. And the good guys always win, etc., etc. Only to look around one day, decades later, and see the aftermath of what happens when the powers that be sells out its people to the banks, the corporations, and the captured regulators, plus inflation. But this is not a complaining channel. We have to make do with what we have while we are here. I just call it like I see it, and what I've seen, as well as those of us that are older, that remember what a semblance of life was like then compared to now, one may feel like he's in the twilight zone. But I've also heard, to counter that because we are in the information era, never has it been an easier time to make or to become someone of means here. Sort of like that. All the parts for one to scavenge for is out there, but you need to hurry up and gather it because time is running out and the door is about to close forever as we delve further into the digital era. Hence why there seems to be such an increased desperation in every aspect of entertainment and soliciting attention and TikTok and street hustlers, etc. I swear when I started this very first audio log transmission, I wasn't even sure of what to talk about other than this would be therapy for me. And perhaps somebody 100 years from now will listen to it. But seeing that man on the side of the road with that obvious hustle was like some sort of divine intervention to tell me to keep this going. I'll still be out here. I'll see how this goes. For anybody out there that cares to listen, take care. End transmission.